About accomplishing the impossible.
Ken Kragen is the man behind the careers of Kenny Rogers, Lionel Richie, and many others.
Ken has been my manager for over 26 years.
He's helped make superstars out of many of the entertainment industry's top talents.
It's easier to accomplish the impossible than the ordinary.
He developed a project known as Hands Across America. He mobilized a megastar cast to create and perform We Are the World.
Ken Kragen is the master here.
The things I've done that have been successful, impossible as they may have seemed, have had substance to them. You know, let's talk about the concept of getting attention. The fact of the matter is, you cannot sell anything to anybody unless you get their attention. What you've got to do, three things. We'll talk about threes in a minute. It's got to be unique or special, okay? It's got to be based on real substance. There's got to be a core to it. Whatever you're trying to sell, including yourself, has to be something that people will take action on if you get their attention. And then, basically, you've got to do the unexpected. And here we go. Here's one of the most important things I'm going to say to you today. Where is the marching band in everything you want to accomplish? Where is your marching band? So, how do you get people's attention? How do you get it? In this crazy world with all of these things that are happening and all of this diversion and all of these social media and all of the stuff that impinges on us all the time, how do you get people's attention? Okay? You know, I have come up with the way, and it works over and over and over again. And it has to do with the fact that you can't get anybody's attention nowadays unless you hit them with at least three things in a concentrated time, coming from different directions. There is a true magic to threes. There's the Holy Trinity, okay? 3 wise men, 3 strikes and you're out, 3 beats to a joke. What you have to do, find a central event. By the way, the central event could even be a holiday. It could be Valentine's Day. I've created whole campaigns around Valentine's Day with clients where then we created a record and created other, and the central event was the holiday. So the central event doesn't necessarily just have to be your central thing. It could be the launch of a product, the launch of your website, you know, whatever you're doing, but you find a central event. Then what you do is you take the things that are coming now and you slow them down so they happen right around the same time. And you take the things that are happening down the line beyond that event and you speed them up so they happen. You surround that event with at least 3 things. So now it becomes everything at the same time. 1984, managing Lionel Richie. You know, people in my class who come to speak in my class tell me all the time that they get much more out of, you got to learn to fail, and you learn much more when you fail. Well, here's a great example of what I learned from not doing it right. This is Lionel Richie at the '84 Olympics. 4 billion people saw Lionel Richie at the Olympics. 4 billion, okay? Closed the Olympics, 1,000 dancers, whole thing, huge. Didn't advance his career at all. Here's what happened next. 6 months later, Lionel Richie hosts the American Music Awards. Okay, he wins 6 American Music Awards. He performs on the show. He's on the cover of TV Guide. He co-writes We Are the World with Michael Jackson. Okay, we record it that very night. You know, there's press conferences, there's all kinds of activity. And then within less than a month, he's on the Grammy Awards. He performs again and he wins 3 Grammys. Now, I promise you that 4 billion people did not see all these things put together. There was not as big an audience for all of this. But what happened? The people who did see this saw multiples. They saw at least 3. There were multiple examples. So all of a sudden, Lionel Richie's career, like that proverbial small plane, took a huge burst of energy up to a much higher level. Why does honesty work? It works because so few people do it. I've talked to you about, to get people's attention, you have to do something that's unique or special. It has to be based on real substance. It has to be unexpected. Well, in today's marketplace, being totally honest is generally unexpected. You know, we read about every day politicians, all kinds of prominent people who have gotten caught lying, cheating, whatever, right? So honesty works because it's different. I always say honesty, don't be honest because your parents told you to be honest, because the Bible tells you to be honest, because society says you should be honest. Be honest because it works. Be honest because it's the best doggone tool you could have and it doesn't cost you anything. This is a true story again involving Kenny Rogers. You know, I was Kenny's manager for 33 years, got a lot of stories. Kenny calls me one day. He says, Ken, he says, you know, the Gambler movie, which we did, is going to air, but we don't know the exact date and we don't know what kind of promotion CBS is doing. Will you call over to the president of CBS and figure out what they're doing? I'd been kind of on top of that anyway, but I said sure, and I hung up the phone. But I forgot. I didn't call Bud Grant, who was then the president of CBS. I just plain forgot. Kenny called back the next morning. I'm surprised he didn't call back an hour later because he's usually was impatient about that kind of stuff, and he should have. But in any event, he called back the next morning and I had totally forgotten it. Totally. Now my choices at that point are pretty easy. I mean, what would be easier than saying, I called Bud, I left word, he hasn't returned the call. Small, that's the smallest lie. It's innocent, you can't think twice about that, right? I want to get caught telling the truth. I want to get caught making a mistake. Why? Because it builds my credibility. I say to Kenny, I forgot. And now he knows that even when I could have easily covered it up, I don't. So when I have to go to him with something that I need him to believe me, he is now willing to believe that I tell the truth. And it serviced me so well. Accomplish the impossible. The premise basically is that, you know, it's easier to accomplish the impossible than the ordinary. And why? Because, you know, if you're doing the ordinary, people go, oh, ho hum, I've seen that before. They don't pay any attention. It's all about getting people's attention, right? But when you set out to do the impossible and figure out some way to do it, all of a sudden people go, wait a second. You know, the media pays attention. I mean, when we did Hands Across America, I mean, it was, you know, kind of amazing because, and then the public gets in and then people want to help you make it work and then they feel they're part of history and all of a sudden things happen. So think big. You know, here we are the world, 45 artists, never put together in America before like this, never anything like this. It was really a call from Harry Belafonte as a result of pictures from Mohammed Amin, a cameraman, you know, a very famous cameraman in Africa who took pictures of kids starving. And Belafonte saw them like we all did on television and came to me. And I then went to all of the various different artists and got Lionel and Michael Jackson to write the song. They got people's attention. We're talking about that here, right? That the media had to take notice. They worked for that way. They each had the wow factor, okay? They were all driven by music. And I want you to think big. I want you to aspire to do things that others might see as impossible. That's my main message to you. I want you to use the magic of threes. I want you to hang in there and not let obstacles discourage you. Make things happen. And stay naive. I've found tremendously that it helps me. If I'd ever thought about what it would take to put 6.5 million people holding hands across the country, I never would have done it.